Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. Today we'll be talking chapter 18 of The Mandalorian. First, covering lore around, well, the big moment at the end. We will be talking spoilers. Then I will also give my brief impressions of the episode and what it means for the series. Chapter 18 of The Mandalorian had some major bombshells for the future of the series, between the revelation of Mandalore's heir not being toxic and what looks to be a season-long team-up of Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. But undoubtedly, the biggest takeaway was the discovery of a Mythosaur in the living waters between the mines of Mandalore. What is a Mythosaur though, and why exactly is this such a massive deal for the future of not only Mandalore but the galaxy as a whole? Let's take a look at the history of the Mythosaur across both canon and legends to figure out how this will impact the galaxy in the coming episodes of The Mandalorian. In legends, the Mythosaurs were ancient massive beasts that roamed Mandalore prior to the arrival of any sentient species. It is generally believed that due to their massive size, they were the planet's apex predator until the arrival of the Mandalorian's predecessors, the Tong, led by Mandalore I. The Tong wiped out the Mythosaur shortly after arriving on the planet as a show of strength and control. Though the reign of the Mythosaur in legends was short, the impact the beast had in forming Mandalorian culture was extraordinary. The first Mandalorian helmet was carved from the bone of the Mythosaur's sternum and was used as a symbol of leadership for many of the ancient Mandalorian clans. What may be even more well known is the use of the Mythosaur skull as the Mandalorian sigil. Though the symbol was originally used most prominently to represent different groups such as the Keldau clan, it was adopted as the symbol of nearly all Mandalorians. Most of the Mandalorians seen in both legends and canon have the Mythosaur sigil proudly displayed somewhere on their armor or person. Boba Fett, for example, the most famous in Mandalorian armor, has the sigil on his left shoulder, which marks the first time it was seen canonically in The Empire Strikes Back, of course. Following its appearance on Fett, the backstory of the creature was further fleshed out in the decades to follow, but interestingly enough, both legends and new canon haven't done very much with the creature until, of course, the most recent episode of The Mandalorian. The Mythosaur's backstory in canon really hasn't been elaborated on too heavily since Disney acquired the franchise, but we do know that certain key points actually do differ from what we were told in legends. The main thing we know about the Mythosaur is that early Mandalorians rode the beast, and much like legends, that Mythosaurs were assumed to be extinct prior to the Mandalorian cataclysm. The return of the creature was actually alluded to in the Book of Boba Fett when Din Djarin reunites with the Armorer and Paz Vizsla. The Armorer states that the songs of eons past foretold of the Mythosaur rising to herald a new age of Mandalore. With Mando fulfilling his journey of bathing in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore, plus a little extra falling to the bottom of the lake, we do seem to have a bit more clarity for where this season is going, and that is towards the rebuilding of Mandalore and the Mandalorian people. The ranks of Din's sect of Mandalorians, for one, has grown significantly since the Book of Boba Fett, at least that's how it appears based on the first episode, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Armorer responds to Mando after returning from Mandalore and the revelation of the Mythosaur. I think it's even possible that we could see a clash between the Armorer's followers, that cult, and the wider Mandalorian community, which will certainly put Mando in a sticky situation. The Mythosaur, really alongside the Darksaber, could be the key to all of this, and the person who first tames and rides the beast most likely will dictate what happens for the Mandalorians moving forward. Beyond that, the rest of the season is truly shrouded in mystery. We know Din Djarin will have some encounters with the Empire. We've seen TIE interceptors in the trailer, but we don't know how the struggle between the New Republic and the forces of evil will affect the events of The Mandalorian, or if Luke and Ahsoka will get involved moving forward. We also have, of course, the early hints of Thrawn and Ezra's return from the appearance of the Purrgil in the season premiere. And this is just really exciting. We're getting a lot of cool possibilities, and the story really feels wide open. I gotta say, this beginning of the season has changed how I feel about the story of Din Djarin. For a while, I thought he was going to be another guy in the galaxy who plays into big important things, sometimes unwillingly. Now, however, it feels like we're seeing the legend of a Mandalore the Great or Mandalore the Ultimate. These figures, especially in Star Wars legends we've heard of, these people who will unite the Mandalorian clans and live throughout history. It almost seems like we're seeing that happen live as the Mandalorian collects the Darksaber. He encounters the living Mythosaur. He partners with a Jedi. It's very exciting to see where this all takes him. Is the Mandalorian a figure of destiny, a Luke Skywalker for the Mandalorians? Will we see him later, eventually sitting on a throne, giving out quests to other characters? or will that happen to someone like Bo-Katan? Will she be the one who assumes the mantle? I guess we'll see. Otherwise, I thought the episode was really great. Definitely had more direction than episode 1, which I felt was needed. Episode 1 made some weird choices. I didn't really like the monster fight at the beginning, which feels extra unnecessary after the Mythosaur in this episode. I also didn't really like the whole hubbubaloo about reviving IG. That was just weird. This episode I really liked. The beginning at Tatooine was nice. It was the return to a familiar and pretty safe place and a safe character as well in Peli before going off to Mandalore, which I thought was beautifully well done. I really liked how Sundari looked, and I liked the architectural similarities between Bo-Katan's castle and, for example, the entrance to the mines of Mandalore. I thought the whole bombed out surface looked really cool as well, and I really liked the encounters they had. I was a bit disappointed that those creatures didn't end up being like the devolved forms of the Tong. That was my theory. I guess they could still make that true through some lore later on. The creature that the Mandalorian encountered was incredibly bizarre. When I was watching the episode, it definitely reminded me of the Dark Strider, a creation of the old Star Wars RPG. There's obviously also the comparison to General Grievous. I honestly didn't think about this, but a great comparison, especially because the goggles is Kazdan Paratus from the Force Unleashed games. He was sort of like a robot Jedi, went mad and kind of made himself a junk suit, which is kind of cool. The whole taking the blood thing is really interesting. I'm guessing that it's for keeping the eye healthy, but really, who knows? It was just so weird. I liked it. I thought it was maybe a bit silly that Grogu left the planet, got Bo-Katan, came back and saved Mando, but that's a pretty small complaint overall. Then the end with the Mythosaur was great. I thought the design of the creature from what we saw was pretty striking. Overall, though, great episode, and what I like most is that we now have pretty much most of the trailer footage out of the way. I've got no clue where episode 3 is going. I've got no clue where the rest of the season is going. I suspected that getting to the mines of Mandalore was going to take like 4 or 5 episodes, maybe the entire season, but no, they knocked it out right away, and the rest of the season now is basically open for adventure. And next episode could go either way. I could see them staying with the Mythosaur and following that plot point, or maybe they go off and do a sort of a side mission for a week. Who knows? Again, let me know your thoughts and more down below.